Hi everyone, thank you very much for joining our interview today. And today we have a special guest. Could you briefly introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, hi, my name is Hoyoung. Recently graduated from Rutgers University. I majored in animal science, pre-vet, and research, and I minored in cognitive science.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that your major is
Animal science.
animal science, right? Could you briefly introduce what is animal science, but also what's the reason why you chose animal science as your major?
Gotcha. So animal science is basically anyone who wants to become like a veterinarian. Actually, the animal science at Rutgers is kind of unique because it's divided into 5 sectors. There is pre-vet and research. That's the track that I was part of. There is laboratory animal science, companion animal science, equine science. I can't remember the last one. I think it was pharmaceutical animal science. So depending on what track you're on within the major, you can have a career in veterinary medicine. I think that's the ultimate goal, to work with animals in some sort of way.
Oh yeah, and what was the reason why you chose?
Because I want to be a vet.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I wanted to be a vet since I was in high school.
Mm,
And from like very early on age, I loved animals, so I knew that I wanted to work with animals.
right.
So I ended up choosing this field.
Oh, that's very nice. Do people who want to become a vet, do they usually choose animal science as their major, or is it possible to choose different major and become a vet?
I actually think a lot of people don't go into animal science. Number one is because animal science isn't really a major that's widely offered in other universities. People usually do bio major, they do any type of biological sciences, any science field or STEM major. But I've seen people who are like art history major, like music major, who end up going to vet school. All you need to do is just complete the prerequisites in order to apply to veterinary school. I don't think your major matter as much.
Got it. You said you wanted to become a vet since you were in high school, right? What do you think is the reason why you were like, okay, now I want to become a vet?
I think you really have to love animals. That's the first thing. I actually landed a animal hospital internship during my junior year to high school, senior year, like that summer. So I ended up working at an animal hospital, and I was able to shadow a veterinarian at the time, and I saw how the veterinarian would clinically diagnose a patient depending on like symptoms, and I thought it was one of those like it to me it felt more like a game in a sense. Like when I was at the time when I was young, like you have all these types of clues and you're trying to figure out what's the diagnosis behind it, and you have like X number or like these type of diagnostic testings to get to that answer. So I think that process of clinically diagnosing a patient was very interesting to me at the time, and I thought it would be kind of hard to watch animals, be sick and kind of. I thought that would also be kind of hard on me mentally, but at the same time, I think being a vet has that merit in the sense I'm able to help those animals as well. So I think that's really what got me into the field.
Do you think there was a difference in terms of actual doctor and vet diagnosing a patient and an animal?
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing is animals can't really talk to you. They can't tell you what hurts or what doesn't hurt, what's wrong with them, what's different about them. So a vet really has to be it has to be a bridge between that animal and ultimately the owner. When the owner tells you some different things that's been happening with the animal, you have to take that really seriously. You have to ask additional questions, and then you really have to be like a detective when you're diagnosing a patient. You have to do a very thorough wellness exam yourself. We have this head to tail rule where the vet examines everything about the patient from literally from the head to the tail.
Wow.
Usually when you go to a human doctor's office, they ask you like a few questions. They really examine you on like what actually hurts you. But for the animals, you have to do like a very thorough overall exam every single time.
Wow. Yeah, let's just now talk about what's the steps to become a vet. I mean, vet is also a doctor, but traditional doctor who treat like human patients, they have to go like undergrad, they have to go through graduate years for like 4 years. They also have residency, right?
Yeah.
They have to go through residency as well. So what's like the steps to become a vet?
Gotcha. For most of the AVMA accredited, that's the American Veterinary Medical Association. So in order to become a vet, that could be licensed in the United States, you have to go to an AVMA accredited university or college. It's actually kind of all over the world. There's, I think, don't quote me on this, but slightly more than 30 now that's accredited. So there's definitely not that many universities or college that you can get your vet degree from, but most of them do require a bachelor's degree. So you have to go to 4 years of undergrad, and ultimately you have to go to 4 years of veterinary school. And the residency, you do your clinical year usually during your 4th year, and your residency usually happens afterwards. So if you wanted to do a specialization, like for example, I'm interested in laboratory animals. So if you wanted to do a laboratory animal kind of residency, veterinary medicine residency, then you would have to go to like an additional years of it. Or if you wanted to be like a surgeon, that would also be like an additional year.
So similar to the traditional doctor's route, you have to go undergrad, 4 years of
veterinary school for 4 years.
And then if you were to choose a specialty, you have to spend more years.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So it's a long process to become a vet.
It is.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's just usually the same as like a dental school and medical school minus the residency.
Yeah.
So.
And yeah, let's talk about how you got internship in high school, because I'm pretty sure like those internships are very beneficial and you can use that to benefit yourself as a possible candidate to land you in a vet grad school, right? Like, what were some of the steps that you took to get those internship experience?
I think though my high school internship was a very, very rare case for me, because in the end you are trying to get a position at a clinical setting, which is very hard, especially if you're underage, especially if you're under 18. So for me, what I did was I was a kennel assistant, which is basically means there's kind of like different positions in a veterinary hospital. A kennel assistant is someone who doesn't necessarily work straight with patients. They're not really allowed to touch patients. It really depends on the hospital, but I did more of like cage cleaning, restraining animals sometimes if I was comfortable enough, or if the vet was comfortable enough with me doing it. Like a lot of maybe like doing laundry, maybe restocking appointment rooms or surgery rooms, helping up, cleaning up after surgical instruments. So a lot of house kind of taking, like a housework kind of things that I did as a kennel assistant. I think that's like a simple position that you should be able to land as maybe like a high school internship. But I think it is definitely difficult to land an internship as a high school student, I think, but also at the same time, if you really want to become a vet, it's okay to start your experiences in college. So I think it's never too late to be on this track. I think as long as you like animals, I think it's never too late to start. But I think also one thing is that you have to be very, very not lazy about that. Like you have to, what I did was I emailed, I phone called bunch of animal hospitals that were around me. I think I emailed like 10. And I ended up landing one. So you just have to be very not lazy about it, I guess. Yeah.
That's good, because over and over, like when I interview like different people who are in different majors, and whenever they're getting an internship or jobs, they reach out to like so many like different places and people to get those positions. And you know, I think it's very clear that you don't really get that much response as compared to how many times you call or apply. Like, you know, like you said, you apply like 10 times, or you call 10 places, but you only got accepted to one, right? So the response ratio is pretty low. In that term, I think it's very important to make a call, you know? Like it's important to reach out to as many people as possible in that regard. I thought it was pretty cool to talk about different aspects in veterinary medicine, right? Vet med. Okay, I'll go vet med. I think that's more simple. So vet med experience. Let's now talk about what are some of the tips and recommendations that you would give to any students who are getting into the vet med.
I think definitely as long as you have that passion and love for animals, I think it's a great field. You don't have to be a vet to work with animals. There are so many other opportunities. So as long as you have that passion, you can work with animals. If I can give a tip for high school students specifically, it's because it's really hard to get that hands-on experience with animals when you're in high school. There are certain things that you can do, certain programs. Like I know certain vet schools offer a like summer veterinary experience programs, like a very short one. I know Tufts offers that. Not to give a boost for Tufts, but and Tufts also, if I remember correctly, they have like a 7-year program. A lot of vet schools do have that 7-year program, and if you know that you 100% you want to be a vet and you know you can handle the academic rigor, then you can definitely apply for a 7-year program when you're still in high school, and then go as like a undergrad plus vet school. I think that's also a really good route too.
Yeah.
But that's something you can definitely consider. For college students who are beginning to kind of apply and they use like VEMCAS. VEMCAS is kind of like the Common Apps for veterinary schools. It's okay if you don't get in on your first try. I think that's definitely a big thing. I actually applied not this cycle, but the last cycle, and I was accepted into 3 schools that I applied to, but I applied with the like mindset that I wasn't gonna get accepted. So it's kind of like applying to colleges. You have your reach, you have your target, and you have your safety schools for vet school. And they told me that including like the COVID applicants, their application rate was about 3% to like 10% acceptance rate.
Wow.
For every school almost. So if you don't get it on your first try, don't be upset about it. I don't think most people do get in on their first try actually, especially the ones that are more like top tier schools, I think. So just keep on trying, I think. And just like Common App, spend a lot of time on working on your application. Make sure you ask for the right people for the recommendation letter. Get good amount of experiences. Some schools require a specifically like minimum of like 300 clinical experience hours, and they require a recommendation letter from a vet. So once you're in college, make sure to get that clinical experience for sure.
Yeah, that's great how like you distinguish between high school students and college students and gave recommendations for each groups. Yeah, I guess experience is also required. The number of hours that you have to fulfill before you send the application is also very important. But also you need to get a recommendation letter from your vet. So you kind of need to do it anyway. So I thought it was pretty cool to mention about for many students.